Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and squirrels from around the world. And you know what? I'm just going to bring this lovely young lady in right now and just let her come and say hello to everybody. Welcome, everybody. Tish,
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Tennessee. So, did you survive the storm?
Yeah, we did. Did quite well. Supposed to have some more coming, but we did good. No panic on the no dogs sitting on my head, as you know. I've got one that thinks that's the safest place in the house, is literally on top of my skull, but not too bad last night. So,
Yeah, we,
not
we
gonna
do
complain.
like we do compression shirts on one of our dogs because he gets so panicked, and it was usually during fireworks. But
Hmm.
he's chilled out quite a bit.
Yeah, my others won't let like if you put compression shirt on one, the others are taking it off. So it's kind of like it doesn't really work that well. So,
Yeah, it doesn't.
yeah.
So I wanted to bring this up. Lenny showed this right here. It's a donation to FMF and Aid Global, and there's the link, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to join in there. I don't know too much about it, so I can't really speak on it. But Lenny is pretty into it, and I've
Yeah.
I've I've heard a little bit about it in the background, just with all the static going on. It's hard to keep up with everything. So if you're
Yeah.
interested, go check it out and, do what you can for them. Do what you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lenny had I saw in the chat where asked about Alex Murdoch. Yeah, he was guilty. They came back very, very fast. So
Yes. Yes. By the end of the day, they were just ready to go home and said, see you bye, guilty on all
yeah,
charges.
he was going to be guilty no matter what the trial had done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I just didn't find it. I just didn't find him guilty of that. I mean,
yeah,
that's just me, but I wasn't in the jury room, and
right.
it was not my choice. Had it been my choice and a lot of other people's, I'm sure they would have said,
Well, and
yeah, he's a shit, but we're gonna let him go on this.
we're okay with it being a bad man, right? But the problem is it happens to people who don't have, a team of lawyers and, you know, so uh wait, what is wrong with the unexpert?
I don't know. There we go.
I don't
Follow
know.
our girl Tish at
Thank you, Lenny.
youtube.com. Tish in Tennessee. See, I've got a really good chat and really good mods. I enjoy every damn one of them. They're so much fun.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. they're a blast. They're really supportive. And as much as you guys like to, sort of give Darth a hard time because of his brashness. He actually reached out and was just like, "Dude, what's going on? Is everything okay?" And I had to explain to him, like I did Tish, because Tish reached out also, almost verbatim, like, "Is everything okay? What can I do to help?" No, everything is fine. And the reason I did this stream, and it's not to sit here and get all weepy or teary eyed, because
Right.
I did not have a very close relationship with my father. From the time that I was 13, I didn't see my father until my sister's first wedding, my youngest sister's first wedding. And that was a really weird moment in time. And I
Yeah.
would say it was 25, 30 years ago. I don't know, because time changes as you get older. You just don't really, the smaller things like that have a little bit of meaning, but they're just
Kinda
not.
like the days are short or the years are short, but the days are long,
Yes.
and it's kinda hard to compartmentalize when
Yeah.
something was because it all seems like yesterday, and then it all seems like 10 years ago at the same time.
Look at Laney Death tries to be a hard ass, but he is a sweetheart.
Yeah,
Yes, he
he is.
absolutely
He is a
is.
sweetheart.
And he'll back anybody up that he knows is being true and honest to him.
Yes.
If you misstep, yeah, he's like the perfect example of the way the Virgo acts. It's like it takes a lot to get their trust, but once you've earned their
Yeah.
trust, it's really quickly like kicked away. So,
And I resemble that remark, so, Virgo as well. So,
uh,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just got a little word from the expert. I'd sent him an invite, so he's at the hospital right now, and um, mom is doing really good. So we'll, you know, if you're the praying kind, pray
Yes.
for the expert, the white rabbit's wife, because she really can use the support. That they're good people. I really
They
enjoy.
are good people. Yep, they are good people.
Yeah.
Hey, Vicky.
So, yeah. And and oh, look at that. Hey, Miss Vicky and Sir Cool. That's so
Yep,
funny.
cool frog.
Well, and this is the time of year that people should be given a little bit more celebration. I know it seems like the spring is right around the corner, and this is like the most depressing time for a lot of people. And there's a lot to be happy for, knowing that
Yeah,
in just a short period of time you're going to have those blooms budding out, the trees are going to be throwing out the leaves, and then it's going to get hot as hell here in
especially in
Georgia.
the South. So, yes, if you don't live here, I don't think you know what humidity really is, or and if you hate the weather in this area, just wait 15
Yeah,
minutes. It's gonna
it,
change. You
it
may not
will.
like the change,
It
but it
will.
is gonna change.
and
So,
it, and it's it's one of those things where because I lived in the north, and I understand, right, that you get those last bit of snows and things are not quite melted off the ground, and you got the big snow piles, and they're all
yeah,
black and muddy and nasty and ugly, and you're just wanting to get out on your bicycle and ride,
right.
and you can't because it's still too cold, and you just, yeah, it's right around the corner, and things will pick up. I mean, it'll be good.
I hope we get a spring and we don't skip right over, because sometimes we do, but maybe we'll actually get one.
Laney
So,
hasn't gotten any snow yet. Well, that's good. That's
good
good.
thing. We know how to drive in it here when it's snow and ice. It's called playing bumper cars. 'Cause
Yes. Yeah.
that's pretty much what we do.
That's why you put those big cattle guards on the front of your truck.
Yeah, yeah,
Four
because
wheel drive, baby.
it's insane.
No, I was able. I actually didn't do too bad driving in the snow and ice, considering I grew up in snow and ice, but I learned to drive in the desert.
Yeah,
Imagine
yeah.
that.
Like I said, there used to be a song out years ago called "Drive Like a Nashvilleian" to the tune of "Drive Like an Egyptian" or "Walk
Oh
Like an
yeah.
Egyptian." You can't
Yes.
find it anymore. I think it got copyright claimed on YouTube, to be honest, is why you can't find it anymore, but, basically, it was, we just play bumper cars. If it's snow, ice, rain, breathing in and out on a regular basis, so
Yep.
we can't drive here. And it's worse because we've had so many people move here that think that we can drive, that there's a lot more wrecks because we're running into them. So, yeah,
Well, I will say at least you're not in Texas where a red light is just a cautionary
an
tale.
option. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Puerto
Tex
Rico where you honk and go.
Yeah.
Um, it's been more years I wanna talk about, but I was 18 and drove in Puerto Rico, made it 2 blocks, pulled it over, and told my friend who lived there, "I am not driving in this town ever again." It was insane. Um, every car you see has some kinda dent on it, and there's a reason for that. You can't get up a lot of speed because there's too many flipping people, but still, I was just like, "No, life," even at 18, I was a little adventurous, but not quite there. So, Yeah.
Oh, sorry to
Oh,
hear this,
Vicky, I'm
Vicky T.
sorry.
Having bad connection issues because of weather. Oh, boo. Yes. Yeah.
Not good.
Sorry to hear that. Well, let me give you a little backstory. So
Okay.
my father was born in 1934 in Lansing, Illinois, and he he was married once before. He married my mother and had a daughter with her, and then he married my mother and had me, my younger sister, and my younger brother. I'm the oldest male that he
Oldest
had.
boy. Yeah.
Um, and after my parents' divorce, he remarried a very lovely lady, and she they had two more kids. Um, and both of those two kids are the same age as my older sister from my mother's first marriage. It gets really complicated with
No, I'm
so
following.
many
I'm
marriages.
I got it. I got it.
And he actually had adopted her two oldest children by two different fathers. First one she had out of wedlock, and the second one she had while married, and she divorced him. And in between that time, she had another child that is a half brother, and he lives in Florida. Really awesome
Ah,
guy. Looks
okay.
almost identical to my uncle, which is so spooky. My wife actually saw a picture of my father and was like, if that's what you look like whenever you're old and gray. I was like, well, I am old and gray. She goes, then I think I made a good choice.
You're like, then we're good, right?
Exactly. So my older brother, he died from um de- basically decapitating himself.
Hmm.
He was having a big problem with drug abuse, and was on PCP, and flipped a tractor over on top of himself and slid down a hill about a quarter of a mile. So it was a pretty gruesome thing that my grandmother had to find. Whenever he was buried with my grandparents' last name. In
Yeah.
this obituary that I have, it was they because my father did adopt him, and my brother never changed his name legally after the adoption.
Yeah.
So he was honored with my father's last name on that. Both my grandparents were quite old. My grandfather, his father, came over from Poland in 1901, and he was 4 years old when he stepped off the boat. My father was a first generation immigrant from Poland, I guess is what you would say. My grandmother, I believe, was German. It's really hard. It gets confusing the further back you go, and I can't really trace them back too much, just because I'm not in close contact with them. But his last wife, they were married for over 40 years, 43 years.
Wow.
So they did really really good. She had a son in a prior marriage. He never adopted him. Um, but in this they actually honor all of the sons and daughters and nephews and nieces, grandchildren and friends. But let me give you a little backstory on him. And he graduated from a vocational school, and his focus,
Hmm.
believe it or not, was in radio. He also
Not that I don't find that exactly surprising, but yeah.
No, not
Yeah.
at all. And it's saying here that he liked to competition bicycle, which I didn't know that. He actually was. Oh, I'm not going to read that because that might give a little bit too much. But he did serve in the United States Air Force between 56 and 60.
Hmm.
Um, and he didn't get really a high rank in the military. You know, you think about it, that's basically a 4 year stint that he did and probably got out. But he was also played drum in the drum and bugle corps, um, and he was employed as a senior draftsman for in several industries. I remember as a child, growing up and seeing him working on he would have this big board that he would be drawing things out where things were supposed to go, and it was basically circuit boards for what you would consider now to be like your the computer or the brain for your
Yeah,
car.
yeah,
He was designing cell phones before they became cell phones. It was just putting everything in there to get the right resistances or the right frequencies or anything like that. Oh, yes, I can reach out to her. But I know that T3's having a rough day. And I don't know what I can say. I mean, I love her to death. I just don't know how to deal with that kind of situation.
I
I'm
think
not
I've been off, YouTube, all day, so I'm not sure.
well, and Andrea's right. She put up a video and she is feeling very low. But yes, I just I don't know how to deal with that kind of situation. I've got nothing to do. I mean, I just don't know what to say. It's really it's really hard for me in that situation because it's very emotional, and I know that she's hurting, but it's a hurt that I can't do anything for. I just people reach out to her and show her the love, really, because T3 is an absolute sweetheart, and we all love having T3 around,
Yeah,
and we
definitely,
enjoy her.
definitely. I just reached out to her on Discord and on email,
Yeah,
so just to
yeah,
kinda
and
check on her.
absolutely. And I mean, if she's out there listening and hanging out, I'm sure she just needs to get a little bit of rest because she's been working overtime on doing these streams, and
Yes,
that
yes,
kind of stuff can become very stressful. And if you're not getting enough rest, you can really wear yourself out and your brain starts doing really funky things to you. I know from experience.
well, and I think that's one of the secrets of YouTube, so to speak, is that, um, these streams, even when they're laid back and fun, they can still take a lot out of you.
Exactly.
And, I
And
mean, I look at the pros like Cool Frog that can go. I don't know how you do that 'cause invariably, when you're on a stream that long, you've got drama popping up, you've got all kinds of things coming at you at the same time,
plus
and
your own life, because
plus your own stuff.
this is
Yeah.
this is 2D right here. You've
Mhm.
got the 3D world that really should take precedent over all of this 2D stuff, because this right here is where you should come to relax and vent out
Right.
frustrations and have that bit of release. And if you're getting confused as to which one is which, you need to take a break. And
Yeah.
I learned that the first month of me doing these streams and being on
Yeah.
with people, and really pushing that algorithm. I really want to build this thing up, but I'm doing this for me and I'm doing this for people around me, and I feel like I'm offering something. And you also have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And
And I went through a phase where I didn't, um I did that as well. I was on somebody even before I started streaming, I was on somebody else's stream almost all the time. And it's a
right,
good thing, right? Because you connect to people and you can, but at the same time, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not making sure you get sleep,
right. I
that
did.
kind of thing.
I
Yeah.
was doing very, very long nights at the very beginning of this,
Yeah.
especially whenever I
Yeah.
started hooking up with Cool Frog, and plus trying to, keep up with the content that I was watching, plus trying to do my own stream. And it got to the point where I literally was getting 2 hours of sleep at night
Yeah.
on
I did
top of
that for
that.
several weeks. And I'm one that can go without a lot of sleep. I
Yeah.
generally sleep about 4 hours max a night, but there's a limit to how much you can do that under a stress bubble. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And it can be very stressful for where she's at in this
Mhm.
work that she's chosen to do. And trust me, Shelly's really good at what she does. So
I adore
I'm
her.
I absolutely adore her, and
Mhm.
everybody give your support to her and the things that she's doing with Cool Frog. I mean,
I seriously, it's
there's a
amazing.
reason why Cool Frog has her doing this.
Yeah,
There's a big reason
yeah.
because she is good people and she provides so much entertainment and so
Mhm.
much to this community that
Passion and energy and, empathy, but with a little bit of, you know,
sarcasm.
sarcasm, which is a gift into itself,
It
right?
is.
So,
Yeah, look at that strange history with Scott Cardinal. That Scott Cardinal, what a great guy.
mhm.
Is this an alt account or is this the actual Scott Cardinal?
Shouldn't be because, uh,
That could be,
yeah, I
but
think it is actually. I was gonna say, he has a Strange History, series that he's doing that's amazing.
yes,
So
he
if you haven't
does.
seen it yet, you want to, check that out. Right now he's kinda
Absolutely.
going through Egypt, which is phenomenal. Oh, he said
I
it's him.
know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. I've
It is
been, out of touch myself today 'cause, y
work.
work and then dealing with a relative that's mm, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, well, my grandmother's been moved to a single room in hospice now rather than a dual room in hospice, which means we're getting we thought she was rallying there for a minute when I was there, on Monday because she actually drank a milkshake, but she hasn't done anything since then, and won't talk
Well,
to anybody else. So it looks like I'm going back tomorrow. So
damn it.
it's
Well,
okay. It's This week has been an emotional, I don't do emotions really well, and it's been an emotional up and down this week. So,
yes. And
emotions are not something I like. I have all the empathy in the world for other people, just not so much for myself sometimes. Um, yeah,
I do understand, and that was, I think, one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on because
yeah,
and it's not because you don't have that emotion. It's because you understand where I'm coming from, my
I do
perspective,
understand what you're coming from. Yeah, I absolutely do. It's
and it's
hard because it's just there's not that closeness there that
right.
other people and then you almost feel guilty for the way you think and feel, but you rationally know you shouldn't, right? But the
Well,
rationality, it just ends up being it's kind of a mix of thoughts.
and I you have to understand that he passed in January, and here it
Yeah.
is, the 1st of March.
Mhm,
Nobody contacted me.
mhm.
There was no call from family saying, "No, your father has passed," and there was no, you know, no information. And I don't go searching out family members randomly on the
But that
internet.
still
My
feels
older
weird.
sister does though, and that's who called me at 9 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning, day before yesterday. Yesterday was crazy. Something, I don't know. Time goes by so weird for me, but she called up and was like, "Did you hear that your dad is dead?" And I was like, "No."
I mean, how else do
Um,
you really say that at that point, right?
yeah,
You
and I
know,
was like, "Well, who else knows?" She goes, "Well, you're the first person I called. I'll call your sister and your brother." And yeah, she just lurks, and just
yeah.
happened to randomly pull it up and sent me the link, and I was, I was sitting there thinking about it, and the worst part was I was on stream with Cool Frog at the time,
Mm,
and I was having a conversation with my sister, and I just pulled myself in the back room, and Cool Frog was kind enough to set me back, where I wasn't showing up there,
once you could breathe.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I talked with my sister, and sort of got the skinny on it, and got back on Cool Frogs, and it's just like, I just found out my father passed. And I've got to get to work, and there's just so much going on, and I haven't had time to process this
Yeah.
kind of thing. And people were a little concerned, and especially you were like, "Well, what's the big announcement?" It wasn't really a big announcement. It's just someone in my family died, you've got this processing kind of thing that
I
you're
kinda
trying to
felt like
do.
something had happened. Um, that's why I reached out to you. I didn't hear
Right.
all of that stream, but, um, I don't know, just based on our conversations, it just something felt weird.
Yeah, and I mean, hmm, it's hard to process
Mhm.
because if you've got your father that you grew up with up until the time like I was 13, a little bit younger, he was somewhere around 13, that my mother just basically packed up her bags, and we got back from summer vacation with our father, which was like that 2-week vacation because he had that partial visitation 1 weekend a month or some crap like that.
Yeah.
And whenever we got home, she had the house basically packed up and ready to load into a U-Haul trailer, and it was loaded up that night, and we were on the road to New Mexico the next day.
Well, and 13's hard when everything's perfect, right?
Yeah.
So, not that I actually believe that there's this place called perfect, but
Yeah.
even if things are going relatively well, especially for a boy, I used to joke that mine went to bed at 12, my little kids and 13 woke up this basket case of everything, right? So 13 is still a difficult age no matter what's going on. And then you add all those layers on it, it's really tough.
Yes. And then you take a several thousand-mile trip to
Yeah,
a different state, and you're getting ready to start a new school, and you've only been in a school for a short period of time. You just started to make friends, and all of a sudden you're having to make new friends. You've got a psycho mother that is basically telling you that your father is an evil, evil person, and all these horrible, horrible, bad things that he's done, and you don't know any different, but something just doesn't quite feel right. But you're not old enough to make those decisions where you can't just go, yeah, that's not
yeah, I'm
right.
gonna opt out of
And
this. That doesn't work at 13.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
so think about the drama that you've got going on with all the YouTube stuff, all the YouTube
mhm.
personalities, all the little dramas going on. At any point, you can step away.
Yeah,
Anytime you can just
yeah,
go, I am out. I'm not dealing with this shit. I've got better things to do, and you can talk shit about me all you want to, but I'm not getting involved in this. You
yeah.
can't do that at 13. You are
No.
stuck.
Well, and
And
it's even hard to do, when it comes to the stuff we've seen happen because yes, expert, just to quote him, 2D is not real, but 2D can be very real too. There's real
a
people
lot
that
of
you
people,
care about, and,
yes.
sometimes some of the things I say can be hurtful, or you can see something happening to somebody and you want to do something, but there's not a thing in the world you can do.
Well,
It can you can turn it off, but it doesn't mean you turned off the wanting
right.
to see someone do well. Like you and I
Yes.
talked, you want everyone to do well,
Oh,
even if they've made
absolutely.
mistakes or did something, that they
Yes,
shouldn't have, or
I
said
want
something they shouldn't have. We
Farron
want
to do
everyone to
well, but
do
I
well.
also don't want her, like,
I don't want
laying
yeah,
into divinity like she is. I
agreed.
want her to,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
I want divinity to do really well, and I think that she would do well to back off a little bit on Farron and just let it rest. But I don't I think that they're just digging the hole deeper, and there's nothing I
so
can
when
do about it.
it's so hard. I was explaining this to somebody the other day, you know, when you're as passionate as she is, and then on top of that, you're a mama bear, right?
Yeah,
That's a trigger point that you cannot always roll
lay
back
off.
in, right?
Right. And
And I
I
get
totally
it.
understand it, and that was one of the conversations I had with her last night. Whenever she came on, she was like, "Oh, I was so worried about watching this because I thought I was going to get laid into," and had a little conversation with her on on online. And I forgot we were even online because I don't think about it like that. I
Yeah.
look at it as having a conversation, and was just like, she 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 agreed. She was like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have brought Nick into this. This was." And looking back, I wish I could take that back. I was like, "Well, you can't. So, how do you make it right?" you know, there's and moving forward, how do you keep from making this mistake again, where you bring other people into it, and where if you just would have taken a step back and not let the emotions get away with you, what would have been the outcome? Because I guarantee you she would have had people backing her up
Mhm.
110% from the position where she's been at, because she's been in some pretty tight situations dealing with, the boys from Griftcast, and having to confront her personal demon right there in one place. So
Well,
it's
the only rules I have, I guess, is number 1, try to see it from somebody else's perspective, even if it's hard. Because
right,
you and I talked about I'm not one that gets you can almost say or do anything to me, and I'm not gonna get real excited about it. You can call me whatever you want to. I don't get upset about things that would really, really anger other people or hurt other people, and I know that. So I have to really sit down, okay, I wanna look at it from someone else's point of view, make sure that I haven't inadvertently, because I would never intentionally hurt anyone under any circumstances, right?
right,
But make sure that in that things not being as high on my list as it is someone else's, accidentally overlook somebody. But then the flip side of that is if I feel like my blood pressure's up, I don't respond
right,
because I can be my adopted father's daughter very quickly, and that is not a kind thing.
right,
I have this side to me that can, number 1, say things I don't mean, and then number 2, I can cut people off in a heartbeat if I'm not careful. And I
right,
don't not because people don't mean anything, but I'll turn it off.
right.
So, I have to be very which hurts
Y-
the core of who I am, but the outside is that default of what you see all the time.
Right,
So,
because you all of a sudden put up the walls, and it shuts
mhm.
people off, and they take it the wrong way.
Yeah, and
And
I can so when you're not someone who is and the people who are emotional and feel a lot and all of that, that's awesome. I'm just not that. It
right,
was frowned upon, so I can't do that openly. I mean, it's not that I don't feel
but
anything, I do, but I
but you
can't.
also admire people
Yeah,
that are able to do that,
absolutely, I do. I mean,
because it's not a skill
people who get
that
excited
I
about
have.
things, right? I don't get really
Right,
excited about much. People I don't get angry about much, but people who have that gift of being able to be expressive, I guess, and the gift of even the gift of being able to give in to being angry. I can't give in to being angry because I'm afraid if I do, I can't come back from it. So, I mean, it's amazing. That's where most people, the art takes place and the healing takes place and all of that. I just, I can't let myself go there. But yeah, I hate all of that was going on. It's unfortunate. And it's
yes,
also unfortunate that under the disguise of a apology, we make it worse by
yes.
announcing the whole thing to the world. When I read Farron's Twitter, I was like, "Okay, this is an apology for sharing something that you are now again sharing.
Yeah,
So if no
and
one knows about it, then somebody else does." And by the
I
way, I
was
hope his friends and family and children are not on Twitter, but somebody's gonna pick that up that is going to be a more difficult conversation than with the 2. I'm like, this is like an
yeah,
apology wrapped in I just and I don't wanna
yes.
criticize how somebody apologizes, right? That's not my place, but at the same time, I had
No,
not seen the
just
other thing. So now I know and I didn't know before, and I can't unknow so you just end up in this nice little, merry-go-round of it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
So,
And the layers get deeper and deeper the more that people, pile onto it.
yeah,
And it looks like there's no way out. And if you're in the middle of it, it will feel like there's just an absolute gang pile on top of you.
yeah,
And I mean that both for Farron and
yeah,
for
both of them.
divinity. And it's rough. It really
Yeah,
is. And they may be both looking at it as like, I don't see any way out and I've just got to fight my way out.
you just gotta
And
go
it
through.
and
Yeah,
at some point you have to surrender the ego.
and that's just,
And
if people don't see a way out, then they tend to go through, right?
right.
And
And
that's not
sometimes that doesn't do any good.
sometimes that doesn't do any good.
I know.
Exactly.
Trust me, I know. I've been there where you're just like, all I got to do is just push through.
Yeah,
And it's hard. It's hard. You have to really humble yourself and go, I'm going to take all of the punches. I am not going to be a martyr over this, but if I don't take the punches and let this fucking go, it's going to bury me,
yeah.
and you'll just be buried in the bullshit and you won't even know where it came from. And some people will push it.
Well, and I
And
can't even try to say that I think I know the right way to handle it because,
oh,
what you think is right in the moment may or may not actually be correct, right? So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And
yeah,
that
no
was
judgment at all.
and
And I
that
love
that was
Divinity.
something
Divinity
I
is one of my favorite people,
oh
actually, that
yes.
I've met through YouTube.
And I agree. I'm the same way. I've enjoyed her so much. Not just her content, but her as a person.
Mhm.
She's challenged me on things that are like, damn it, I
I was
hadn't
there
thought
when
of
one
it
of
that
those
way.
happened, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, you're right, we're wrong. Okay, maybe. I don't know." But at least it gave us something to think about, right?
Yes.
So, that's the
And
other
and
thing.
and the good part was is I could disagree, and she was fine with that. She was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I don't disagree.
I call it
This is
walking through
right."
quicksand with flip-flops. It doesn't
Yeah.
always you might get out of it, but you're probably not gonna get out with both flip-flops, and you might just get stuck. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
No, there was a good point that I thought about, that, you know, you have to be careful of people that will use opportunities like this,
Mhm.
mask them. They will help create the drama. And I pointed this out on a stream last night or this morning. I don't know. It all sort of blends in,
Whenever it was.
and said, you're basically giving Farron ammunition to not complete what she started, because if I'm not mistaken, she's working on a documentary and she's got all these wonderful people that have come in to support her doing this documentary about sex trafficking,
Mhm.
about the horribleness of this.
Yeah.
So if you get too focused up and you've got her in a fighting mode, she's going to use this as an excuse not to complete it. And I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
like to see her complete it because it is something that needs to be told. And there's a lot of people that have helped her out with this, and they need to hear it also. There's people that just need to hear it.
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, I don't think I ever realized until the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years exactly how bad the human trafficking angle was. I mean, I knew it existed, but the extent and where and, all of that stuff, I don't and Nashville apparently is one of the worst hubs, as we are for drugs and every money going through terrorism and everything else.
Anything that's on a main interstate
Anything
that
that's on a main
more than
interstate.
one interstate can cross, it becomes a very dangerous place. You got the
Yeah.
I-95 corridor, I-16. I-95 runs all the way up to what,
Mhm.
the northern states.
We've got
So
65, which leads into 40, which leads into 24, which goes into 75, which goes 95. And I mean, I listen to Christine Kane. She's with the A21 campaign. Um, not I'm gonna say 10, 15 years ago, and she was talking about, everything happening in Greece, but I don't think I quite had my mind around exactly how bad it is in my own backyard,
Right.
um, until more recently they rescued I forget how many women it was, out of just a tip,
Yep.
right? So, yeah,
And that's sometimes all it takes. And there's so much of this that goes on that's not talked about, not reported. And
right,
that
right, right,
right there was what I was hoping from when,
yes.
initially her thing was supposed to be about Eliza Blue. And you could see where that wasn't going to really work out too well. So she sort of took on upon herself to do a little more comprehensive of what was going on behind the scenes that people weren't talking about.
Mhm,
And her mistake was that she used somebody else's work and clipped it and used her own stuff over the top of it and got called out on it. And that's sort of, I think, put her in a little bit of a tailspin. And that just, then it just snowballed from there. And I think that if both of them can back off long enough to actually get things done, I think they would find that they probably agree on a lot of the same issues. But sometimes that ego just gets in the way, you know?
I mean, I think we've all done that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a little bit for each one of us to get out of that. But anyhow, let me go on with my wonderful obituary for my wonderful father.
Please, please.
Not really wonderful, but he was the sperm donor, so I give him credit for that. And I've got to give the man some kudos because he did quite a bit.
What is
His
it?
passion,
Good people do bad things and bad people do good things. It just kinda depends on the day,
yes, it does.
which means we're not good, we're not bad, we're just
Human.
are. Yeah.
His passion for computers and electronics continued outside of work, and he could always be found tinkering with computers at home. He wasn't Computers weren't really big whenever I was growing up, but he did serve as an elder in a church where he enjoyed playing dart ball. I don't know what the hell that is.
What is dart ball?
I have no idea. And camping with friends and family. He also had a passion for cars. Yes, I will agree with that because he I actually helped him replace an engine whenever I was very young. I probably messed up more things than was possible as a young child and had no idea what the hell I was doing, but it was time that I spent with my father, and it's
So
and it's a good
dart
memory.
ball is a variation of darts where they're thrown on a large wooden or homestay board that resembles a baseball field.
Huh,
I have
fun.
seen those. I didn't know that they were different than I thought they were just called darts, but, yeah,
Well, and I do know that he sort of got into model trains for a short period of time, and I think he did that more for the kids kind of thing, and that was sort of short lived, probably because it was so damn expensive. Um,
probably, yeah.
but he had a passion for cars. He enjoyed talking about the many sports cars he had owned over the years, which is true. He did. Extremely outgoing, a great sense of humor. He loved striking up conversation with strangers, making friends wherever life took him. He was a loving, caring husband, father, brother, uncle, friend, and will be greatly missed by all. So that sums up pretty much my father right there. Isn't that wonderful that somebody I did not really know, and there was a time that I wanted to reach out and try
Mhm.
to make amends, but I felt that it would be taken away from his current family because he had, two young
Mhm.
boys that he was trying to raise. And I wasn't looking for I wasn't looking for a father. I took it. Um, I found that the father figure that I needed outside of that.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't that I went searching for it, but there was men, like real men out there, that would take it upon themselves to see that I was screwing up and, grab me by the scruff of the neck or by the
Yep.
ear or slap me in the back of the head and straighten me out. And that was
Yeah.
so important to me, that you have that men will do that for young boys coming up. It's a little more difficult with girls because girls
Yeah.
don't respond to that as well as boys do. And I will tell you from experience, man, you see a boy fucking up, get in his shit. As much
I
as he
think with
fights
girls,
back on you,
you can, but you have to earn the right to, if that makes any sense.
I
So,
understand.
yeah, so like my dad had a friend who was more like my dad was a father, but my adoptive dad, but his
Mhm.
friend was more like a dad, if that makes any sense. And
Makes
he
sense.
he didn't mind calling me out on anything. If my father called me out, it was harsh. If he called me out, I would listen. So,
Right.
it's
And
just one
it's
of those
it's
things
all
where the approach matters, right? So,
it is all in the approach. It absolutely is. But I will
yeah.
tell you that, men out there,
Yeah.
if this was a difficult part for my wife and I,
Mhm.
because mm, oh, we'll talk about that another time.
Okay, we can do that. But then my, biological father, that's a whole 'nother thing too. I've seen him once. Um, that was kind of enough. So, I can understand that.
Oh,
Expert.
look,
Aw,
the
I hope White
expert.
Rabbit's mother's doing well. So,
Yeah, see right there. Dad was with his nephews when my uncles failed. Yes, and that's really what it takes is men to step up to other men and tell them,
this
here's
is
where you're
not okay.
screwing up.
Yeah, this is
Right.
not okay.
And I think that's something that we're missing out on quite a bit
Yeah.
as generations go by, because because it's gotten to the point where if men step out of line and other men don't correct them, that women tend to correct them, and women don't always do a good job at correcting men
Mm-mm.
to get them to act like men, if that
We've
makes sense.
almost yeah, we're almost in a space where we overshare everything, but we don't
Right.
share the things that are important that we should be.
Right.
And it's always either, it's none of my business or everything's my business. We're
Right.
we're in a we're in a world of extremes,
Hmm.
and you and I have talked about this a few times where we want to blame somebody for everything, right? When no one's accountable for everything.
Right.
And a lot of times too, if you're in a situation like that, you and you're a mom, okay, you have to allow that to happen too. And that's the other thing that's hard because you have to be able to trust someone else to step in and handle something, you know, that you can't because you don't have the ability to do. And that's hard to
Right.
do too, right?
Right.
So I just think we don't mind telling the world about everything, but we almost call people out on every little thing to the
But
point
not on the
where
things
when
that are
you are
most
being called
important.
out on something, it doesn't have weight
Right.
because we call about everything. About females, all aunts try to straighten out the women. It doesn't really work. But my mom or my
Yeah.
grandmother, like
Yes.
I was telling Shizzy Monday, I walk in and she tells me to stand up straight, first of all.
Yep.
I was sitting down, which was part of the problem. Um, at her 100th birthday, I remember my cousin saying, "You're chewing gum." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You're gonna get in trouble." She was right. I got in trouble. Um, Yeah, my mom's mom, she died, years ago, but she was the sweet one, but my dad's mom is the tough, disciplined, knew how to handle life one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. My
Or no, I'm sorry. I said that like she's gone. She's not gone, but
well, but she's still the tough one.
she's yeah. Yeah, she's still the tough one. I mean, even, we're in, you know, the dual hospice situation. She's telling me to stand up straight. So,
Yep.
it's one of
Oh
those
yeah,
things. So, yeah.
yeah. My grandfather was very brash. Like, he was the one that you reach your hand across the table and he would take that knife, hit you with the handle of it right
Mhm.
across the
And
knuckles.
see, she was that to me. My grandfather was more like, you wanna go truck riding?"
Oh yeah, you'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll be fine.
Which meant
No,
back of the
my
truck, 8 years old, no seat belts, going 70 miles an hour down, and you'll know what I mean if I say these country roads,
hmm.
um, that
Oh, I know.
it's a miracle nobody was thrown out and nobody got killed, but, yeah, he was that
Yes.
kind, and, my grandmother was you know, "You have to ask before you leave this table." Can you
Yes.
tell I was troublesome? So,
We've all
every
been
now and
there.
then yeah, every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and as I was going to say earlier before I started getting a little emotional, was that it was going to be difficult, and I brought this up to my wife, for me to be a father because I didn't have a good example as a father, and I
Mhm.
was concerned, and she understood because I could explain it to her in just basically that way. It's like, because I don't know what a father is like
Yeah.
at all. And it makes it difficult for men if they don't understand what a father is like or how a father is supposed to act, and not what society is telling you a father should be, because that can
What
be
not what you see
skewed.
on TV because that doesn't actually exist.
Not what you see on TV and not what your mother tells you that the father is supposed to be, because, how many mothers have always been perfect? Very few.
Not this one.
And,
Yeah. I have been perfectly imperfect in every way.
exactly.
So, yeah.
So it was a conversation that her and I had, and that sort of, it was one of those that I never really thought about it until it was presented to me. And that was whenever my wife had gotten pregnant. Well, we actually
I know what you
intentionally
mean. Yeah.
intentionally did that. Um, and it was like, ooh, I was concerned, and she was
Yeah.
like, "Oh," and if you're worried, that makes me feel a little bit better because, her father was not the greatest father. Um, Still
I
isn't.
think
He
it's when
still
you
looks
think you've
shit.
got it all together that I worry more
Yeah. Oh
because I
no,
don't
I
know that
was.
we even if you've got it together in certain areas, there's other areas where you don't. We're just all learning as we go.
Well, I think that also she was happy that I had that in introspective to
Yeah.
say I didn't know, that I was concerned about it, that I wasn't just going to sit there and try to fake it and then,
Well, and
up
then she
and
didn't
bail
have to
on her.
point it out to you either because you already knew, which
Yeah.
is, I'm sure, a relief, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
But, and it wasn't my father's it wasn't my father's fault on
Right.
that aspect. I mean, yes, he did have some fault in it, and it wasn't until I got in much older, to the point where I was like dating and getting, somewhat serious outside of just, having a good time with the ladies.
Yeah.
It was whenever you started getting serious and you start saying, what do I need to be looking for in a woman? And you hear these guys from MGTOW and all that stuff,
Stuff.
and I
Yeah.
I under I do understand where they're coming from, and it's there's an exception to all of that, and I've always been the exception, not the rule, I guess, because I didn't place my value on the value of a woman that I got. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I wasn't going, oh, I've got to be the alpha male in this situation to find the perfect mate to produce and blah blah blah.
I cringe when
Um,
I hear the words, high
yes,
value female, that makes you sound like a horse, and
yeah,
then I also
exactly.
and I'm like,
But
what the heck?" And then
I do understand the point.
I
I
understand the
understand the point,
point,
but
the
that is the
phrasing is problematic.
yes.
Um,
And
yeah,
it can make women feel that they're not valuable, which is not true.
which is not true.
Um, exactly, and that's one of the beefs I do have with it, because I
Mhm.
find every person, every human has value. I mean, every person
Well, and
has
even if you're a
value.
person who's made every mistake in the book, that as long as you're breathing in and out and you're 6 feet above ground and you have the ability to think, then there's time to pivot, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you don't have to be held accountable for whatever it is you've done, but there is a chance to pivot and not balance the ledger, so to speak, but at least make it where there's a little more to the positive side.
Right, and also you have to understand in any sort of relationship, it takes time to build that relationship. I mean,
Mhm.
you get that first initial, "Ooh, I'm attracted to this
Yeah,
person.
the
I
honeymoon
want to get
phase.
naked and do nothing but
Literally the
have my
honeymoon phase.
body all over them
Right,
all the time."
right, right.
There's that point, but once you get past that point, there has to be something more,
Mhm.
and that's where the value comes in, because you might go, oh well, she's not the most attractive fit woman in the world, but she does it for me. We enjoy each other's company, we enjoy doing the same things, we have such a great time, and I wouldn't pass that up for, the perfect 10 model, because the perfect 10 model might be just a little bit off her rocker and just looking to jump ship at the first
Right,
second that she can get. And then I always have to be concerned with that. I'm having to, change the way that I am, the person that I am, to become something that I'm not. And, that I don't know, that's the only problem that I have with that whole,
yeah, yeah.
attitude of that.
I mean,
It
I understand what
it
people are
makes for great
usually trying
content,
to
but
go
in
through,
reality, it
but
doesn't make for great
yeah,
living.
no, and it doesn't make for great, and because a lot of people don't really understand, it also doesn't make it for a good, way to think you need to be, you know? Because as an adult, we can understand it a lot better than, say, a teenager can understand the phrase. So,
Yes. Yes, and it makes it difficult, especially as if you're young and you're hearing those kinds of things come out, because you're still figuring yourself out without any good guidance to actually so you can understand what they're talking about, in a general
if you
term, and
take
put it
that
into
that phrase
practical
in a
terms.
vacuum, in other words, and,
Yes, it
kids
becomes
always tend to listen to everybody else but you at one point or another.
yes.
Um, it's just
Absolutely.
kinda the way it works. But if people always it's so funny about the joke about my dad told me he went to school in the snow up the hill both ways. It was hard raising I think it's always hard raising kids no matter where you are,
Yeah.
but if you don't think it's harder now than it was 20, 30 years ago, you're not paying attention because as hard as it was back then, with my kids, I often wonder how my kids and my grandkids who are parents too, because some of them are, if I were them, that whole temptation to go find an island somewhere and isolate, it's just
Looks more appealing every
it
day.
looks more appealing by the day. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but we're a social people. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
all
that's not the
humans are
answer
social.
either. But my son, when his first daughter was born, um, was kind of like that. He wanted to, protect everything and everything she consumed and everything she played with. I'm like, honey, one, you're not going to be able to sustain this.
Right.
And two, you're not going to be able to stop this. And even if you could, it's not going to be the outcome you want anyway.
Exactly.
So he chilled out after a little bit, but at first he was just like, You know, wanted to I'm surprised we didn't have a 10-foot wall around with a moat and a dragon, to keep anybody or anything that
Every
might be the
sharp
least
object had
little every
styrofoam
sharp
on it.
object. Yeah, exactly. You know, don't take any risks no matter what.
Yeah,
Um,
the
but you can't
risks are,
blame them. It's such a
it
heavy
is
burden.
daunting. It is
Yeah.
absolutely daunting. That was one of my concerns, and as I've, as I've gotten older, I've sort of looked at that and gone, "Damn, was I really that naive that I
You didn't
could?"
feel that way at the time.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one could have told you that you were.
Nope. But
Yeah.
luckily, like I said, my father might have not been the greatest father for me, but he raised two more children after my brothers and sisters and I. I and that's why I give him kudos. That's why it's more than just a, you know, oh yeah, he was my father. It
Well,
was
that
like
says a lot
he
about you because it would be easy, I would think, to be resentful of that, that afterwards he did a better job than during.
no,
Uh,
I'd like to say that was
yeah.
good practice.
Yeah, practice. Did you see Lady Autumn Sky says her oldest is 27 and her youngest is 3.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, that is
You
so
are
drastic right there.
officially the warrior woman today because that would damage my calm in all kinds of ways. I'm just saying. 'Cause, you know,
Exactly.
my youngest is 30, but when the grandkids or great-grandkids come over after, it's awesome, but I'm not unhappy when their parents come to get them either. But,
No,
I cannot
not
imagine
at
a
all.
three-year-old, I mean, and a 20, but awesome kudos to you, 'cause
I think I just lost power. Can you hear
something
me?
I can hear you.
Give me just a minute.
Did you flip a breaker?
I think breaker tripped on me,
Okay.
so give me a second.
Yep. Um, let's see what else. I cannot highlight anything, but I still can talk. Um Lenny, what's helped me with a lot of different bad things is 2 thoughts. Today might not be the best, but better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better you than yesterday. Yeah. And try to be kind to yourself too. I think that's hard. We are going to make mistakes no matter what we do. It's just part of breathing in and out, right? So, Lenny said, Suzanne said, Lenny, those words are my nightly prayers. And, Lenny said, "It's helped me so much." Also, the serenity prayer. So, yeah, I think he blew a breaker. Um, see what else. Um, Suzanne, a little bit earlier, said, "Look at what this little stream has done. Took us broken people together to help one another heal." Yeah, definitely. Oh, wow, Lady Autumn. She forgot. Okay, Suzanne says she forgot to say she has 2 sets of twins. And then, well, let me correct myself, my youngest are twins. That's amazing. I bet that there is never a dull moment with twin 3-year-olds. And I have this feeling
Well, this is
that
horrible. I can't get my breaker to stop tripping.
well, you know more about all that than I do, but
Well,
usually it's because
every
I have my heater on. I don't today. Um, let
so
me
what I
see.
have is I have everything on battery backup.
Yeah.
So my power will probably be shutting off in about 16 minutes. And then I
So
won't
you
be
don't say in
back.
about 10 to 15, you say in about 16.
Yes,
So,
because I have a battery backup and I'm
yeah.
looking at it and it tells me I have 16 minutes before I run out of juice on the battery
Do
backup.
you think you just tripped a breaker, or do you think you're having weather?
No, I'm pretty sure that I've got a bad breaker and I'm going to have to replace it tomorrow.
Okay.
And of course it's my day off, so that'll be my fun day
I
of
could
going to
say at
get
least
the
it happened
breaker.
on your day off, but that really doesn't help because, yeah, that's not how you wanted to spend your day off, right?
Well, it takes me all of like 10 minutes to change it, but about an hour to get the breaker. So that's always the fun part.
Yeah.
And these breakers, I've had problems with them before where
Okay.
they just crap out on me. This is probably the third one that I've replaced in the time that we've been living here. So
We have
it
trouble with
happens.
our the ones in my office, which is where I am right now. I gotta be careful not to run the ceiling fan too fast, and have the heater on because I'm bad about doing both,
Yep.
or I'll be in the dark as well pretty quickly. So
Well, and I think I'm just drawing so much power off of the few circuits that I have. Like
yeah,
I've turned off all the lights, so I have no lights running whatsoever. It literally is just my monitors, my computer, and it's still getting a weird draw. So that tells
yeah.
me that it's a breaker.
Rabbit says, "Good night, Shizzy Wiznut. At least you can
Oh,
get some rest."
well, yes. Well, and what I'll do is I'll probably knock this thing down to one monitor, and then the breaker might start working, but if not, I'll just watch from bed. I'll watch the shitstorm that I'm sure is probably happening on other channels with all the wonderful
I
divinity
don't
fairy
know if
stuff.
anyone else has noticed this, but, like, when I'm clicking the live, there's a lot of our friends that I know are on live that you don't see on the main live YouTube channel for some reason all of a sudden. So before, if I go click live, I can see, like, I think Scott's on right now, or should be at least in his show. But when I click YouTube and I click live, he's not showing where he usually is.
Oh, it looks like
Um,
Good Logic, Legal Mindset is on,
yeah,
and
but Good Logic isn't
and
showing either.
oh, he's showing for me.
Law and Lumber's showing for me, so it's weird.
When there's somebody that I'm going to recommend that you check out. This is a really nice guy that I met with Stephen Gosney, and
Yes,
he's in Brunswick, Georgia,
yes.
and I will I will pull up. Oh, it's actually I missed it. Doggone it. It's over, but you can always go back and watch it. He was on for about an hour and a half.
Is he the one that Joe had on his show today?
I fast was it Fast Group?
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Fast Group. This is his show. He looks like he did an hour and a half. And
See, I'm not the only
oh,
one who
he had Valhalla on there, and he had Kaiser Pineapple on.
Lenny's saying,
So
"Yes, Tish, I'm having that issue with most people I follow." I'm too. It's like I'm seeing people that I subscribe to, but not don't really follow, and then the ones I follow,
well,
I'm
it
not
looks like
seeing.
Scott is actually live right now.
Yeah, but I don't have him on my main page either. And
Oh
I did not
well,
get a notification, and I've definitely signed up for notifications, for him and
yeah.
Joe. So I don't know.
I've
I
been
think sometimes the algorithm just gets screwy.
I've been given that quite a bit of. Yeah, I actually, you know, I think it helps keep me down and
Yeah.
not watch so much during the day.
Yeah, I think too, it depends on when you're normally on. Suzanne said Joe is way hammered right now.
Oh well, I imagine so. He's been going at it all day. So
Yeah, and I think he expected it to not end as quickly as it ended today too, which is not
right,
helpful. Rabbit, that is happening to a lot of people. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's weird because, and I don't know if it's, a lot of people think it's this shadow banning type thing. I'm not sure if it's that or it's just computers are not perfect, right?
yeah, I think there's some issue going on with the interwebs that
Because
you
a
know.
lot of YouTube is automated, right?
Yes,
So, there's not a person saying, "Oh, Tish really wants to know when Joe's on, so we're gonna make sure that she has no clue." I don't think it's working that way. I think it's
no,
just there's something else going on. Although, as we learned, truth can be very, interesting, and some things you would think would be fiction are not fiction, so I don't know. Are you still there?
yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you for a second.
Yeah, I trying to get that beeping to stop. That's
Mm.
my computer, my battery backup going beep beep. You're draining me so
It's like
fast.
I'm melting.
But I will actually probably be ending this here in the next couple of minutes. And I think everybody here follows you, but if you don't, everybody needs to be following Tish. Go over there, hit the
Thank
like and
you.
subscribe. Make sure the little bell is dinging and that you're getting the notifications. Even though you may not be getting them, you can always check it out because
Yeah,
she's doing some really cool stuff and you
I
got to
appreciate
check it
that.
out.
Yeah, T3 is supposed to be on this Sunday.
Right.
So that always excited. We always have a really good conversation. So
Yes. I'm
yeah,
looking forward to it. What do I have? There was something I was doing this Sunday, but I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head.
yeah, and
It's
we're not
it's
the
always
same
that way with
person,
me.
despite what some people think, because we talk at the same time quite a bit.
Yes.
We echo each. I mean, we literally said the exact same words at the exact same time. At least a sentence or two every time we're on stream.
Right.
Good night, Lenny. So
Well, good night, Lenny. And I appreciate everybody coming out. And like I said, this wasn't I wasn't needing the moral support, although I appreciate Tish coming out and providing moral support.
anytime,
Um, it was a way of recognizing, the person that actually, brought me into this world or had a part of bringing me into this world,
right?
and that there is appreciation out there, for you know the fathers of the world and the
Yes,
men of the
yes,
world that maybe didn't weren't any part in the making of you, except for on a moral stand ground and sort of giving you that guidance and laying a hand
yeah,
on your shoulder and telling you, no, it's going to be okay, son, and not being your father, but being that fatherly figure, if you know what I mean,
being a
where they
person to God. By
be
Autumn
the
Sky put it
shepherd.
in the chat. So she said to have a good night.
Well, thank you, Lady Autumn Sky. I appreciate it. And yes, everybody, be be good to each other, and
Yep,
good things will come. But on that note, I will end this with the my favorite turtles. Yeah, baby.
absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys, for coming out. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Exótica.